Real Country 1430 AM and 1073 FM WRDN. I'm Brian Winnikins, and joining us this morning, Angie Krieger, and she is with the National Pork Board. She's Vice President of Domestic Marketing with the Pork Board, and we had a chance to talk with Angie during the NAFB convention. And thank you to our sponsors, including BASF Credenz Seeds, the Wisconsin Corn Growers Association, Animal Wellness Center in Buffalo Valley, and Wisconsin Farmers Union. Angie, thank you for joining us today. Well, one of the big growth areas, and I'll tell you, I've probably been part of that, has been ground pork. And I love it because it's so easy to use. But what have you been seeing from consumers? Are they a lot like me, that they love the ground pork?
Yes, Brian. Thanks for having me, first of all. But yeah, consumers have been really enjoying ground pork in 2020. And we've said ground pork is having its moment, which has been a bright spot in the midst of a really challenging year for everyone. But ground pork has benefited from consumers cooking more at home and looking for new options and easy recipes. And so we're really excited for the future. We looked at some statistics, did some research, and almost half of the people buying ground pork had not bought it in the previous year, but they're coming back for repeat purchases, and that bodes really well for the future.
So was that a surprise?
It was a little bit of a surprise. We weren't surprised that grinds in general grew when people were cooking more at home, because if you think about it, ground beef, ground turkey especially, have been staples in consumers' kitchens for years and years. Ground pork, on the other hand, is just an unknown to consumers, and especially outside the Midwest. And I think this is the biggest surprise for our producers here. I'm in Iowa, and we all love pork burgers, right? Like, that's the highlight of going to the county fair. But outside of the Midwest, consumers aren't consuming ground pork as a burger. They're using it as an ingredient. On the coast, on the East Coast especially, we sell a lot of ground pork as sausage. But the idea of an unseasoned ground pork is new to some consumers, and they're finding that they love it.
So is the challenge to let those consumers know of how to prepare that?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, some of them are searching for a specific recipe. So it's a destination item that they're looking for, and that's awesome. But then the challenge is to get them to use it in other recipes. So we have a promotion right now in a grocery store in Florida where we're putting, little recipe stickers on the ground pork packages. We're also working with retailers to make sure that ground pork is easy to find in the meat case. I could go into 5 different grocery stores here in the local area where I live, and ground pork might be in a different place in each meat case. Sometimes it's with the seasoned sausage, sometimes it's with the ground beef, sometimes it's with the fresh pork. And so we're trying to get some consistency for consumers about where that is, and also just to make sure that it's in stock. Because it's not always an item that retailers keep a lot of stock in.
Talking with Angie Krieger. She is Vice President of Domestic Marketing with the National Pork Board this morning. Angie, you mentioned the pork burgers. And when my family's purchased a pig, that's part of it, is and they'll pre-make the burgers for me. And it's so convenient, but it's something different. And, if you really want to, I've done that before. You have a pork burger and a beef burger at the same time and mix them together. And so with the consumers with some of these recipes, is the board trying to also expand that and to make it easy? Because I think that's a big issue, is easy for consumers.
Yes, convenience is king. I mean, we live in a world, right, where everything's at our fingertips. I mean, literally at our fingertips. You can order, you can order food from your phone. You can order groceries now and have them delivered or go pick them up. And so, ground pork is a really important product for us to be able to provide consumers that convenience. And you talk about the pork burger, and they're delicious. I mean, no doubt. And we will continue to talk to consumers about using pork in a burger. But the idea of utilizing ground pork in some of these ethnic dishes, so tacos, The really popular recipe that we saw a lot of people searching for is called egg roll in a bowl. And it's, the Asian flavors are really key too. As consumers haven't been able to travel or even eat out at their favorite local restaurants, they're looking for those fun flavors to bring in. So there's so much opportunity with ground pork. We've tried as an industry many times to get it off the ground, and we're looking at it differently this time. It's not just a pull through from consumers. We've got to help retailers understand how to market the product and really work with packers to make sure that we have a good, adequate supply chain for it as well.
Now, here's an idea. I don't know if you've done this, but a bacon cheese pork burger. Just saying. It's pretty
Um,
good.
There is actually a local retailer here in Iowa that does pre-made burgers. They're ground pork, they have bacon in them, and then they have the high temp cheddar cheese, and they are so delicious. And you can buy them in their fresh meat case, and then you can buy them as frozen patties now too. They're One of my colleagues said if everyone could, gather around and eat these burgers together, he thinks it could bring the world together.
Yeah, I totally agree. You mentioned the retailers, Angie. How is it? What's the challenge with convincing the retailers to get on board with this?
Yeah, well, I mean, retailers, they see the same numbers that we do, and we're showing them the trends, and they're excited to see the opportunity to bring consumers into the store, right? So that's always a great opportunity. But retailers have had a challenging year too. Their business has changed a lot, and I mentioned earlier, the convenience of ordering groceries, if you will, online or on your phone, and having that pickup or delivery method. They've had to hire more labor to go into their stores to be those personal shoppers, and so it's just been a tough year to get a lot of attention. But ground pork is one product where we have seen some good momentum with those retailers of doing some tests. And as I mentioned, we have one in market now, and there's another one that we're working on. So they see the trend as well. It's not going to be as hard a sale as it might have been a year ago to talk to them about ground pork.
That's Angie Krieger. She is Vice President of Domestic Marketing with the National Pork Board. We had a chance to talk with Angie during the NAFB annual convention. I'm Brian Winnikins for WRDN.